and gentlemen. I got a good feeling about today's show. Why? Because some of you are wondering how you can work from home and get some of these side hustles going, and today's guest is going to help us with that. So let's get this show on the road. Here we go.
Shut up and sit down.
Is your business in need of customers? Then you found the right show. Hernan Cias is the business bro, and he makes getting customers fun and easy. Watch, listen, and learn as each episode is designed to sell. Welcome to another episode of
Business Bros. All right, ladies and gents. There you go, Vicky. There you go. We got on the show today. Let's do this. See, the number of gig workers in the workforce continues to surge with many upsides, including picking and choosing your clients and projects, as well as your hours and your fees. It's no wonder as much as 40% of the U.S. workforce is involved in gig work. And now with the digital world, what the digital world has done is made it possible to not only find, but also fulfill gig work, providing a gateway to a wealth of contract work once you know how to tap into it. Today's guest can address the upsides and the downsides of gig work. You know, I like side hustles, especially the ones that you can do from home. So let's welcome to the show, multi-best-selling author, a sought-after speaker, seminar presenter, a popular media source, having made over 901 appearances in broadcast, print, and online outlets. And now on the Business Bros podcast, let's welcome to the show, Vicky Oliver. All right, Vicky, I don't know 900 different media outlets. What do you think of our show so far?
I'm loving it. I love the energy.
That's what I'm talking about.
It's fantastic. Here in New York, it is 7:02 p.m. and I feel like it's 7:02 in the morning. It's fantastic.
Yes, that's what I'm all about. I'm trying to bring as much energy as I can, get you pumped up. Let's talk about what we got going on. So, Vicky, before we get started with all that, my very first question to everybody has to do with that great question of why? Why are you doing this?
Why are you doing this?
Because I want to know.
I started in the advertising business, and I was always looking for a job in the advertising business. I mean, I got jobs, but I was always looking for a job. And at one point I said to myself, you know, I'm learning so much about job hunting. I think maybe I should be writing about it or something, you know? And that's how I started doing it.
So that's the start, but why advertising? I know for me personally, I mean, I'll tell you this. I got a sour taste in my mouth when it came to advertising very early on in my entrepreneurial space, because I didn't understand how it worked, because I got locked into year-long commitments, because I didn't understand the return on investment based on how much I was putting out. I didn't understand it. So for me, advertising was something I didn't want to do until way later in my entrepreneurial journey, where I was like, okay, well, the missing piece in my business is the advertising. So why did you want to go that route?
All right. So first of all, I have 3 parents and they were all in the advertising business. Okay. So I grew up with it at the dinner table, literally. Like my mother married 2 of her bosses. That couldn't happen today. Okay. That'd be bad. Okay. Don't do that. But she married 2 of her bosses. And so and I'm an only child. So between my 3 parents, I mean, I heard so much about it growing up that I just was sort of wanted to do it. You know, I felt like I understood it. Even before I got into it, I felt like I just got it, you know? Mm-hmm. And I thought it was fun. I thought it was an outlet for my creativity. And I just really loved like both the creative side and the marketing side. My parents were 3 account people. I was on the creative end. But that's what I did. And, you know, and I liked it. I really enjoyed it. And then I decided, you know what? I think my talents are better utilized writing about job hunting. Because I had done it so often and so well, frankly, I just wanted to write about it.
Now, in today's world, it's literally been flipped upside down in the last 2 years. We went from, getting up, going on that drive to work, 9 to 5, getting in that car, driving back home. But with the internet, with the pandemic, with all those things coming into play, all of a sudden working from home and creating gig work and hiring across the globe got so much easier. Tell me a little bit about job hunting, especially now when we can get gigs.
Exactly. So, I mean, for, probably centuries, right? People wanted to work from home, right? And for a very long time, bosses said, no, you can't do it. Or maybe you can do it on Friday afternoons. And it was considered a perk to just do it on Friday afternoons. And then along comes the pandemic. It sweeps in to all of our lives and we can't go to the office, right? And it was like the grand experiment. It was like working from home. Would it work or would it fail? And it turns out it worked pretty well. I mean, productivity actually went up during the pandemic, so that makes bosses happy and people didn't have to commute and that makes them happy. And, give or take, like kids running in and out behind you and, dogs jumping on your lap and all that, given all that, I think it worked pretty well. And now that we are going to go, unfortunately, into the fourth wave of the pandemic, there's going to probably be more of a hybrid model at most companies.
Yeah, I totally agree. There, and it really comes down to, for example, like we do podcast training, we do different types of content creation, and I utilize a lot of different types of gig work depending on what our client needs. And it's so easy for me to go out and just go to Upwork or go to Fiverr or find somebody who specializes in this type of thing and literally see a portfolio of what they've already done. I'm not even looking for a resume or a bachelor's degree. Show me what you got going on. Show me what you've done. And then let's see if we can do something together. I mean, that's a new way of looking at it. So if you can explain to me as simply as so that a third grader would understand it.
What do you do?
What do you do?
What do you do when you're looking for gig work? You mean?
What do you do exactly?
Oh, what do I do? Okay, I'm a writer. I have written 6 career books. And I also consult with people who are job hunters. And I help people prepare themselves for the job hunt. That's what I do.
So tell me about that preparation process. When I'm getting ready to prepare, are you talking about things like writing up my resume? Are you talking about preparing for interviews? Are you talking about style and dress? Like, what is the preparation?
Yeah, all of the above. And especially if somebody has a problem, like a particular problem, like let's say they're terrible at eye contact, or a person always gets the interview but never gets the job. Like what's going on there? I'm going to help that person unravel that, hopefully, and help them become more confident in their searches.
It reminds me of kind of what were they called? Those companies that basically you come in, they're like day jobs, right? Where you're temp jobs. There you go, like temp agencies. They're almost like you're training them to come in for a job, but what you're doing is not really on the temporary basis. You're training them to get full-time employment, I'm assuming.
Yeah, both. I mean, both. They're just, sometimes there are problems, first of all, like right now, we're talking screen to screen, right? And I'm looking at you, but maybe it's not coming across that I am. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Sometimes that can be an issue with somebody. Or maybe, they're perfect in person in an interview, but they just can't hack it on a screen. These types of issues, like entrenched issues. I don't want to say psychological because I don't really do psychology. I just want to get somebody to get the job, like to be confident and to pull it off and to get it. And later, if they don't want it, that's fine with me. You know what I mean? But I'm going to help them get it.
Is there a difference in preparing for somebody who's going to get a salary paid position or, an hourly paid position versus preparing yourself to get some gig work going on, to go on Fiverr, to go on Upwork and prepare to present your portfolio, for example?
Yeah, I mean, the difference to me is the risk factor, right? When you go for a gig work, there's no risk to the employer at all. They can just take you on, take you as freelance, right? It's not going to cost them a tremendous amount of money if it doesn't work out, right? It's completely different, the level of commitment. And therefore, I think it's easier to get gig work. And I think that for certain personalities, it's better. It's better because it builds your skills and you can just amass your portfolio and you can develop skills in all different areas. right? And use that to get like more gig work and better gig work. And I just think it's great. I think it's fantastic that there is this option. And from the employer standpoint, there are also options, because I live in New York, but let's say, there's a lot of talent in some of the cities, et cetera, but an employer can pick and choose from all over the world who they want to hire for that particular project. So I think it really benefits both parties. And I think it's better, and I think it's lower pressure.
All right, well, let's talk a little bit about what's been changing. So, for example, we've gone through what is being called the Great Resignation. People are leaving in droves some of these office jobs to find some of this other type of work. So with that in mind, who is your ideal client? Who's the person that you're looking for, that you're looking to work with, who's a good fit for you?
I am looking for qualities beyond the physical.
That's right.
That's so funny. I love the stuff that you're doing. Whoever is helping you with it, like, keep them on. I really like it. It's very funny.
Oh, it's solo, Vicky. It's solo. This is how we train if you want to start a podcast and you want to know how to professionally produce one where you could do it by yourself.
I love it.
Let me train you.
It's fantastic. I love it. I don't look at it so much as looking for people. I look at it as like people are finding me, and that's great. And I'm going to work with them. And my attitude is like, it's like a boot camp, and it's temporary. Like, I don't want to be like 12 hours a day, psychoanalyzing people. I want to help them with their materials. I want to help them with their confidence level. I want to help them answer some questions, buff up their CVs and their resumes, and get them out there. That's what I want to do. So it's short term also.
Okay, so then how are they finding you? I mean, every entrepreneur would love a 100% referral based business where they never have to do any marketing and advertising. And that would be ideal, but it's not always the case, right? I mean, you can't control a referral for the most part, right? You can't depend on that for a job. So how are you getting the customers to come in the door? How are you finding your clients?
Basically, I write a lot of books. I write a lot of articles, and I'm on, a lot of podcasts, and that's how I think that people find me. I think that it's like I do it, obviously it's nice to make money, but I also do it. It's something I really enjoy. And I think that probably shows too.
Let's talk a little bit about the getting out there part, right? Because I know there's a lot of people who are afraid to get behind the camera, who are very nervous if they have to step behind a microphone, who would rather be in the coffin than giving the eulogy, essentially, right? Did you ever deal with any of those types of nerves? Do you still have those types of nerves? And what do you do to get yourself across so that the job that you're looking for, the gig work that you're looking for, sees a confident person, not a nervous wreck?
Right. So, I mean, I'll just tell you that when life went to Zoom, as it did in the last 2 years, I was like, oh my God, I can't even deal with this myself. It's so hard to like look at yourself while you're talking to somebody else, make sure everything's like cool and copacetic, and deal with the lighting, all that stuff, right? And I just had to really deal with it. Like, it's much harder to multitask than it is to single task. And before, when interviews were in person, it was single tasking. You only had to concentrate on the other person, but now you also have to kind of look at yourself, and it can be very jarring. But practice makes perfect, You can fiddle around with the lighting, which is something you can't do in person, right?
That's true.
You can sit, you can have water, you can have notes, lying around, you can look at your notes sometimes. So there's some advantages when you're not in person, right? You have to only worry about the way you look up here, basically from your torso up. There's certain advantages, but there's certain disadvantages as well. It's harder to connect sometimes with the other person. It's a different medium, let's face it.
Yeah, it totally is. It totally is. And I mean, I literally live that every day, right? We used to do our show live in person. So, you could give a hug, shake hands, whatever it was. And it was a really cool way to interview and to meet people. And then that pandemic happened and we had to move to like Zoom. And I found this platform, StreamYard, and I was like, this is amazing. It allowed me to take my visual presentation, my video, stream it to multiple platforms, but also make it look really cool, right? Because I feel like now when I'm talking to other podcasters, they're so impressed. You know, other people who've been on a lot of podcasts are so impressed. They just keep looking at us like,
We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
exactly like that, right? And really anybody can do it. You just like you said, it's a little bit of practice makes perfect. I don't think there's ever really a perfect, but there's a strive for perfection. There's always room for improvement. When your clients are sitting with you, when they're talking to you about, you know, maybe getting started and I'm nervous and I don't know what to say, you know, what are some of those little strategies and tactics that you can help them, you know, move past that fear?
Right. I mean, the first thing is not to, beat a dead horse, but the first thing really is practicing. Like in my book, I talk about writing out the questions that you think you're going to be asked and then answering them for yourself and then practicing them, right? And now we will add a layer on that and say, go on Zoom and practice with yourself if you have to, practice on Zoom with a friend if you want. And fiddle with the lighting and everything so that it feels like it's very natural. And you just have to keep doing it and doing it and doing it. But there's a certain point where you also have to say, you know what? I've practiced. I've learned I know what I'm going to be asking. I know what they're going to ask me, and now I need my 15 hours of sleep so that I'm refreshed, right?
Mhm.
You don't want to be so canned that it comes off like, oh, you're not an automaton. Right? You're a person. You want to be able to just talk to the person. And really, honestly, I mean, any meeting, any interview, whether it's in person or online, is just a conversation with somebody.
That's right.
So sometimes, let's say the person that you're interviewing, let's say somebody's interviewing you and they are an extrovert, right? Maybe they want to ask you all the questions. Well, that's fine. Okay. And maybe they're an introvert. Maybe you have to pull it out of them, even though they're interviewing you, These are the things you have to be able to calibrate. And when you're on a screen, I would say it's sort of the same in that somebody's going to have a first impression of you, and they're going to make the impression in less than a minute. And after that, you are either bolstering that first impression or you're unraveling it, right? It's like they make the first impression instantly. And if it's for gig work, they may take you on, right? Even if you are not a perfect fit with their company culture, because it doesn't really matter. Like you're doing a project for them, right?
Yeah.
And if you can demonstrate that you have the skills, you will get the project, right? So your personality is not as significant in gig work. It really isn't. Nevertheless, I would say you want to, get lots of gigs. And you want to be able to connect with people and make them, refer you later for something else, something even better than their thing. So it's just a matter of, doing it, practicing it, and then saying, you know what, I'm very, very knowledgeable about this. And now I'm just going to relax and show the other person that. And then, there are tricks later too. Like when you meet somebody, let's say they ask you something and you did not score very well on what they asked you. Let's say you messed it up, right? You gave them the wrong answer. Well, you can deal with that later when you follow up with them. You can thank them. You can bring it up in your follow-up email to them. You can say, I'd like to talk to you a little bit more about this. You asked me this. I felt like my answer, I want to enhance it now. Let me tell you a little bit more about it. And just continue the conversation with them. It's just all about being in conversations with somebody and just sort of accepting that and being into it.
Yeah. And a conversation is a learned trait. Like you can learn to be a better conversationalist. There's certain scripts that I've seen, like Ford scripts, for example, family, occupation, recreation, dreams. It gives you an idea of what to ask, different types of questions to ask. And you're right, holding a conversation is one of those good skills, especially when you're doing it over Zoom, to make sure you maintain that engagement that is really difficult to do over the internet. I recently I was having a conversation with somebody at school today, and they were talking about how Walmart has announced that they're going to pay their own truckers really well, and they're trying to encourage new truckers to come on board. And it kind of got me thinking, because Google has a lot of free training that's available. You get the certification, and they even do job placement starting at $60,000, $80,000 plus benefits. I mean, there's all kinds of opportunities out there. And the question came up, where is the space for education here? So is a four-year degree necessary today? Is it part of what should be on my resume? Is it part of what should be in my portfolio? Is it even relevant?
Yeah. So, I mean, I went to college. I'm a big believer in continuous learning. So
Yes.
that's my bias, and I believe you have to keep learning. I don't think it's so much whether you go to college or not, a 4-year program or grad school afterwards or something like that. That's not the issue. I think it's the ability to be a sponge,
Mm-hmm.
keep learning. And I think that we have to keep learning in this environment because otherwise technology leaps ahead of us, right? We have to stay on top of the technology that we need in our own field. And to be able to do that, I would just say, you have to keep an open mind. I mean, LinkedIn has tons and tons of classes that you can take for free, that you can learn. As long as you keep learning, I think that's the significant thing.
I couldn't agree with you more. And you never, ever stop. I think it's actually one of your favorite things to do as a human being is to learn. And that's where our attention tends to go. We all have different things that we love to do, but really when we're in that space, when we're obsessed, if you love fishing, for example, you're going to learn everything you possibly can about fishing. You like painting murals. You're going to learn everything you can about the different brushes. I mean, podcasting, you're going to learn everything. I think it's embedded in us. It's how we are. Our brain wants to learn certain things. And Vicky, you and I grew up in a different time. I remember growing up, if I didn't have the answer to something, tough. You just didn't know it. You had to go do some research, go to a library or something, figure it out. Hopefully you had encyclopedias at home or something. But today, the opportunity to learn is endless. There is no reason why you should be able to say, I don't know. It should say, I don't know yet, right? I mean, there's still things that you can learn. And you mentioned some of those resources that people can go to. What about you as a resource? What are some of the things that you got? And when people come to work with you, what's that process like to gain those resources?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, your sales process. What's that like?
I mean, I just look at it as, again, my thing is issue driven. It's like, what are the issues that's holding somebody back in their own career? And then if the issue is learning, then I might even hop on the computer with them and try to do it with them. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
These are the types of things that I try to deal with. But in general, nobody can afford to stop learning. Because if you just, you know how to do one thing, and let's say you know how to deal on Slack, you understand Slack, right? But then you're working someplace and you have to get on WhatsApp. What's the difference between those two things, right? I mean, Facebook, okay, fine. Then you have to be on Instagram. I mean, you just have to be able to sort of keep up with the changing technology and just keep learning and learning and learning. And if you don't know it, that's okay, but show a willingness to learn it. Don't be dependent on other people to do your own stuff.
Oh, absolutely. Plus, I heard tuition is free at the University of YouTube. I'm just saying, the University of YouTube, University of Google, there's a bunch of free resources that you can always find there. Vicky, do you have any promos or things that you got going on in your business right now?
Me? I'm giving away free money.
I'm not giving away free money.
Good. But knowledge can earn you a lot of money.
No, I get, I do give a lot of talks and everything. I don't have anything that I'm promoting right at the moment. I've written 6 books and my website is vickyoliver.com. And there's articles there and lots and lots and lots of information that people can learn about.
Sweet. Yeah, no, I mean, it's funny you said you're not giving away free money, but that's not necessarily true. You're giving people the opportunity to get their 9 to 5 if that's what they're looking for, to get some side work if that's what they want, a gig work or maybe work from home, full-time employment. You're literally giving everybody an opportunity to have a cash flow stream. So I would argue that you're kind of giving away free money. What do you think?
It's funny. With my first book, 301 smart answers to tough interview questions. I did 301, right? But it was really more like 330 that were in the book. And then I said to myself, you know what? I've done like 330, but that doesn't mean that I've answered your question.
Mm.
So I actually gave people a free question. And they could go to the book and they could get my email, my real email address, and they could ask me a question, any question, anytime, one free question. I give them obviously one answer. And I got so many people writing to me with that offer. So I guess that's the thing that I do. I give somebody one free question because let's say they're going for a job at a hotel tomorrow, you know, they can write to me and they can ask me what to say, you know, or whatever. They can ask me anything and I will try to help that person. And that's what I do. That's my promotion.
I like that. Every day that we get to help somebody along the way of their life, I think that brings some tremendous joy. It's one of the reasons why I still love to teach, because that moment when the light bulb goes off, they're like, oh, and then they do some work to get to that next level. That I think is that's one of the greatest joys in my life. Like, yes, I was able to make a difference. And you get to do that every single day with people. And it's on a completely different level, because when they do it with you, they come out being able to feed their families. They come out being able to go on vacations. They come out being able to have some more time and freedom, and the stress level goes down. I mean, that's an amazing thing you're doing.
It's just really fun. I mean, I really enjoy it. It just feels like I'm helping a person one-on-one, you know, in a quest that they really, really want to do. And a lot of times it's an urgent matter for the person. It's some job that's coming up, you know, or maybe they didn't get it. You know, that's the other thing. Maybe somebody didn't get something and they don't understand why. How do I follow up with these people? Should I follow up? Do I ask them what I did wrong? Like all those types of questions, you know?
Oh, absolutely. Vicky, before we head out today, I want to make sure people are aware how to get a hold of you. What's the best way to get a hold of you?
Say hello to my little friend.
I love the stuff that you're doing here. It's great. I would just say to write to me at Vicky@VickyOliver.com. Obviously, you can see Vicky's with a Y, and just write to me.
Perfect. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Reach out, ladies and gents. You get a free question. Quick. Okay, Vicky. If somebody hits you up and they're like, Vicky, can I ask you a question? Is that the first question that they get? Like, that's it? They don't get to go anything after that?
No, people can, write me a real question that they have. Just assume that I'm there and that I'm going to try to do my best to answer your questions about the job quest, you know, and that I'll work with you on it. I don't sort of encourage people to send me their resume because that's more detailed. But if it's just a question about a particular meeting you have that's coming up, or why you're not getting any meetings, or how you're doing on meetings, or anything, you know, how you should dress for such and such a job, you know, interview, anything like that, you know, reach out.
Perfect. All right, Vicky. Well, for us, one of the biggest ways that we grow is through word of mouth. And the way I like to kind of capitalize on word of mouth power is through a video testimonial. So if there's someone who's thinking about coming on the podcast, or maybe an audience member who has never listened to the podcast, what would you say to them about the Business Bros podcast?
I would say it's very high energy. It's really super fun, and you should just do it.
That's right. You should. By the way, one of my favorite brands of all times is Nike.
Yes,
that saying, just do it. I mean, that changed my life in so many ways, because, you know, thinking about it, researching, paralysis of analysis, nothing ever happens until you go out and just do it. You go and take action. You fall on your face a little bit. You scrape your knees. You dust yourself off, but you're further ahead than you were when you first started. Vicky, you've been an amazing guest. You're helping a lot of people get some gig work. Before we head out, is there anything that maybe I didn't ask you or you wanted to share with the audience before we go?
I just wanted to share that I wish everybody well in terms of getting their jobs and their gigs, and reach out.
Boom. There it is, ladies and gents. Well, it is Friday, and if you're in San Diego today, you experienced one of our greatest heat waves. It was super hot today. I mean, like almost 100 degrees on the coast, which is not normal for us. Dry heat, though, for those of you on the East Coast. I'm sorry, it was still dry heat. But if you guys want to heat up your business, then you need to make some more content, and we're experts at making content. You want to work with us because we're going to give you the energy that you need, just like we did for Vicky today. If you're looking for some gig work, make sure you check her out. VickyOliver.com. VickyOliver.com. She's going to help you get prepared, get the confidence that you need to go to that next level. And if you're doing gig work, if you're trying to promote yourself, then you need to get some content made and you don't know where to start, you don't know what questions to ask, make sure you guys follow us. Find us at businessbros.biz, businessbros.biz. We'd love to work with you, show you how we're making fun content and making behind the camera and behind the microphone a fun thing. Vicky, thank you very much for coming on the show. Really appreciate you being on, and have a great rest of your weekend. Peace out, ladies and gents. We'll see you guys next week. Later.
Thanks for watching The Business Bros. If you're ready to get more clients and want to work with The Business Bro, visit our website, www.businessbros.biz, and click on the Need More Customers button, or learn how to generate more referrals with our video testimonial packages. Go to www.businessbros.biz and start getting